In this episode, we are going to be talking about anxiety and the guilt and the shame and the fear that comes along with feeling like it's controlling your life and you don't really have control over it. So, my friend, if you have anxiety, then stick around and let's chat. This is Inspired Wellness with Jessica, a safe space for women impacted by their emotions to unlock hope and discover ways to elevate emotional wellness holistically for long-term health and well-being. I am your host, Jessica, advanced EFT practitioner, holistic counselor, meditation therapist, and advanced life coach. Join me for real, raw conversations to educate and inspire you to take control of your emotional well-being. I am so grateful you are here with me. Let's dive straight in. I am in my 30s, I have anxiety, and I feel pathetic. This is a post that I saw recently on social media, and it just really stuck with me. It really stuck with me. For anyone who is listening, you will know that I have had my fair share of panic disorder and anxiety experiences. And I guess working from a space as a holistic therapist, the reason why I really wanted to do this episode and I wanted to bring these words into awareness is because I hear really similar versions of that all of the time. There is so much guilt that people seem to carry over having anxiety, so much shame over how you're feeling, so much guilt and shame over the things that anxiety stops you from doing, so much guilt and shame over not being able to control the anxiety, so much guilt and shame over how much worry you have, and just this general feeling, this fundamental belief that something is wrong with you. And that's generally backed by a pretty full-on feeling of fear, which just helps your brain to believe that the anxiety is right. that the anxious mind, the thoughts that you're having about the anxiety is right. And then that's backed up by the physical changes in your body. You know, you have your heart racing and you've got your stomach in knots. Maybe you want to vomit. Maybe you're tingly. Maybe you're lightheaded. Maybe there's a lump in your throat and it's always there. Maybe you've always got migraines. Maybe you have these moments of panic attacks. And because this keeps happening for you, your brain is just saying, yep, verified, anxiety, there's something wrong with me. But here's the thing, you are normal. And I want you to say that with me. Say that now. I am normal. You are normal. When you are in a state of anxiety or you're living with anxiety, or you might even define yourself as an anxious person, and that's identity. And I've got a whole another thing to say about that. But when you are in this place of anxiety, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's really important to remember that whatever is going on for you in your mind, in your body, is not your fault. Now, what do I mean by this? There are so many possible reasons, and I don't know you and I don't know your history, so I can't tell you exactly what's going on for you. But there are so many possible reasons, possible contributors to your mind and body being anxious. Now, this could be things like nutrition and movement and things that aren't within my area. I highly recommend, if you are anxious, working with a naturopath on your gut health if you do have anxiety, because helping yourself holistically is very important. And a lot of people with anxiety do have gut health issues. I will have someone on in the next few weeks to talk about that, which is really cool. But what I can talk about is I can talk about some other possible contributors that keep your body in a state of stress. Now, why am I talking about stress when you are anxious? For some people, you just think of stress as being this overwhelmed, external thing that is happening to you. But stress is a response in your body. It is a nervous system response. When you are under long-term state of stress, you are in your sympathetic nervous system. And when you are in this nervous system, a few things happen in your body. Lots of things happen in your body. But some of those things are your heart rate speeds up, your breathing shallows, your pupils might dilate, your digestion is no longer working properly, you cease sexual function. There's all of these things that happen. And you've probably heard me say this many times. If you were to be being chased by a predator, you need your fight or flight response. But when your fight or flight response can be activated by illness or pain, if we're in chronic pain, then we're constantly in a state of stress. If we are unwell, if we're ill, then our body is likely in a place of stress. When stress can be coming from emails and traffic lights and conversations and thoughts that replay and replay and replay in our mind, then this chronic and unmanaged stress, this long-term chronic and unmanaged stress, will lead to anxiety or can lead to anxiety. Worry. So I know there's a podcast episode on this, how your thoughts can directly impact your body through your emotions, through your fight or flight response. And then trauma. Even if the trauma is not conscious, even if it happened when you were 2 years old and it's not something that you replay in your mind every day, if your body is holding on to trauma and your subconscious mind is making decisions based from a space of fear from that trauma, and you have fundamental beliefs about the world being unsafe or you being unsafe or love being unsafe or whatever your beliefs are, then that can also contribute to your anxiety as well. There is not often trauma without some level of anxiety. And I think for a lot of us, we palm it off because we think, well, that happened to me however many years ago, so that can't be what's bothering me now. And we focus a lot on the blame, on the people around us, and don't realize that we are hypersensitive to those things because of the place that our brain might be in. So not to say this is all exactly what's going on for you, because you may not have experienced significant trauma in your life, but these are things to consider when we're looking at the fact that the anxiety that feels out of control for you, the anxiety that feels like, it is impacting your life and you're miserable and you feel pathetic because you can't seem to get it under control, and, maybe people aren't supportive around you. Or they don't understand because they've never experienced it, or it's impacting work, it's impacting business, it's impacting your family. However it is impacting you, know that these external contributors and internal contributors that contribute to anxiety are not often spoken about in your general mainstream medical checks. Okay, these are things that can be your root cause issues. And we've dealt with effectively, and I love EFT. It is highly effective for desensitizing traumatic memories, desensitizing emotion, for helping your brain to reprocess and reprogram thoughts of safety and beliefs and stories in your mind. But if you can effectively deal with these root cause issues or better manage your stress in a long-term capacity, then you are likely going to have a major turnaround with your anxiety. The only way to come out of to get out of your sympathetic nervous system, it's not the only way, sorry. What I meant to say was the only way to come out of panic is to engage your parasympathetic nervous system. And this is done through things like tapping, through things like deep belly breathing, meditation, which is hard when you're in a state of panic. I recommend doing meditation as ongoing management, ongoing support. And when you're in the moments, using EFT and breathing and other grounding techniques like I've got the hiccups, like the ice cube, using the weather outside, the cold water on your face, other grounding techniques to get you back into your body, and then breathe, tap. Tapping's fantastic for grounding to get you back into your body as well, because you have the sensation on your body as well as activating the acupressure points that you are stimulating. And for those who've never heard of EFT, when we tap on the clinical sequence acupressure points, which you can learn, I've got a beginner's guide, I'll link in the bio, so you can learn where these are and how to tap. But when we are doing this, we are sending a calming signal to our brain's fight or flight response, to our amygdala. And we are getting that calming signal at the same time as we have our warning danger signal. And the brain says, okay, well, there's no way I could be being chased by a tiger in this moment if I'm also getting a calming signal. So we switch off sympathetic nervous system and switch into parasympathetic nervous system, which is where we need to be to come out of panic. And the more you can support yourself into this state, the easier that it is going to be for you to deal with the anxiety, to deal with the issues. You don't want to go and start doing trauma work when, or talking about something that's upset you, or trying to manage the worrisome thoughts in your mind, when you need to engage your logical mind to do that when you're in a state of panic or high anxiety or stress, because your logical mind is not the part of your brain that is in control. So when you feel like you have no control over this, in a way, maybe you're right, because the logical mind that thinks it can control these things isn't in the driver's seat, even though it thinks it is. So you're having this internal debate with yourself. I want to control this. Why can't I control this? So instead of fighting that, instead of, really, it's like a resistance. It's like a fight. If you imagine being on an airplane and you're thinking, I want to get off, I want to get off, I want to get off. Well, you can't get off. So you're better off to sit there and say, okay, I accept this, I observe it, bring in your mindfulness techniques. If you haven't learnt mindfulness and you experience anxiety, then that is something that I really, really recommend. And I do teach this in Project Calm, which is my stress management program that you can access through the top tier of Thrive, my membership. But yes, so if you are able to sit there on that plane and you're able to observe what is happening, you're able to breathe, I am in this space and I accept that I am here, then you are going to have a much calmer trip on your plane than what you are if you spend the whole time telling yourself, I want to get off, I want to get off, I want to get off. It's the same with anxiety. If you sit there going, I want to control this, I can't control this, I want this to stop. It's exactly that. It's that building this resistance in your mind. So let's try a different approach. If you are someone who experiences anxiety, even if it starts in your mind, even if it's predominantly in your mind, even if your anxiety is predominantly what they call a cortex pathway anxiety, where it's really coming from the thoughts, the thinking thoughts, the worry, the anticipation, that cognitive overwhelm, all of that. If that is how you experience your anxiety, you still need to be engaging your relaxation response, because those thoughts are keeping you in a place of stress. And once you are in that parasympathetic nervous system, you are then in a more logical mind to be able to deal with the stress, with the thoughts, with the worry. You can implement then your cognitive techniques, your CBT techniques, your stop, your stop method, or whatever methods you're using for your mental overwhelm, you're journaling, all these things, you can do this from a space where you can actually engage your logical mind to assist you with that if you calm your nervous system first. So, yes, if you listen to me, I bring everything back to the body. It is your greatest asset in healing, in growing life. The mind is obviously an amazing asset, but yeah, the body knows, the body remembers, and if we can switch out our nervous system, then you are going to be able to really, really help your anxiety. So the other thing that I just mentioned was with the plane, we're sitting there and we're being mindful. So let's take this approach next time we're feeling anxious, first of all, to engage our parasympathetic nervous system. How are we going to do that? Maybe through some tapping, maybe through some deep belly breathing, some mindful breathing, something maybe like breathing and movement, so some yoga or Tai Chi. But if you're in the moment and you need to just disengage that panic, that anxiety, then let's do some tapping. The other thing that I'm going to encourage you to do, and this is going to be challenging for you, really challenging, but when you learn and understand mindfulness and how it can support you in the context of anxiety, then you are going to really understand why. I want you, instead of fighting it, I don't want to feel this way, I can't control this, why can't I control this? Instead of fighting it, I want you to say, I am anxious right now and I accept that I feel this way. And observe it. Observe it. Label it. I notice this in my belly, but I am safe. I notice this in my chest, but I am safe. Observe what you are feeling. Observe it in a way that you are showing your mind that yes, it's happening inside your body, but it's not your whole entire being. It's not everything that you are. So I'm not going to go too much into mindfulness today, but what I wanted to do with you was a really quick tapping, a really quick EFT, just to really help you, give you an idea of what you could be saying, how you could be supporting yourself. So if you don't know where the points are, just have a guess for this one and then go and download the Beginner's Guide to EFT. That beginner's guide, it gives you a really comprehensive overview of where all the points are and how to use EFT, and it is free. And then I have a bonus video linked into that PDF that just shares how I like to use EFT in my life and in my business to really be calm and confident in the space of being an anxious mother and an anxious woman and an anxious entrepreneur. So let's start tapping on the side of our hand. Either hand, it's the squishy part on the side of your hand, tapping on the side of your hand, even though I have anxiety. Just thinking back to how you feel when you think about the fact that you feel like you can't control this, or the guilt and the shame over not being able to control the anxiety or not feeling normal. So repeating out loud after me, even though I have anxiety, I accept that I feel this way. Even though I have anxiety, I accept that I feel this way. Even though I have anxiety, or you could say I feel anxious if you don't want to identify as anxiety. So even though I feel anxious, I accept that I feel this way. Eyebrow, I have anxiety. Side of eye, I wish I didn't. Under eye, it's hard to live with. Under nose, feels like it's out of control. Under mouth, feels like it's something that just happens to me. Collarbone, and sometimes it's really lonely. underarm, and I feel so many different emotions about it. Top of head, maybe guilt, maybe shame, lots of fear. Eyebrow, lots of fear. Side of eye, I have anxiety. Or under eye, I'm currently living with anxiety. Under nose, comes and goes. Under mouth, sometimes it feels like it's never going to leave. Collarbone, but instead of fighting it, underarm, I'm going to sit with it. Top of head, fighting will make it worse. Eyebrow, fighting will only encourage more fear. Side of eye, what if I started to get curious? Under eye, about the things that are really going on for me. Under nose, what if I started to believe? Under mouth, that it is possible for me to change. Collarbone, that I might have some control over this anxiety. Underarm, that it might not be everything that I am. Top of head, and all that I am. Eyebrow, I'm curious what this might look like. Side of eye, I'm prepared to get curious about it. Under eye, and whilst I get ready to embrace this curiosity. Under nose, right now. Under mouth, I accept that I feel anxious. Collarbone, I accept this is the way that I feel. Underarm, choosing to accept this is the way that I feel. Top of head, choosing to accept this is the way that I feel. Now let's take a deep breath. Okay. So you can come back to that anytime you need to. Okay. I'm going to leave you to sit with those thoughts and to ponder what your next steps in supporting your potential root cause of anxiety might be. If you would like access to guided EFT sessions, guided meditations, positive psychology resources, and masterclasses, among other things, tapping circles and other things as well. And then I would love to see you in Thrive, which is my self-care membership for women who are stressed and anxious, but who are wanting to support that through nervous system regulation and still, maintain their personal and professional growth at the same time, despite having anxiety, with the anxiety, working with it instead of against it. So I will link Thrive in the comments. You can jump in the notes section. You can jump in and have a look at that at any time that you like. And if you have any big takeaways from today, then I would love to hear those from you. So until next week, breathe deeply. This will pass. It always passes. And you absolutely are capable and deserving of having an anxiety-free life. You've been listening to Inspired Wellness with Jessica. If you loved what you heard today, make sure you subscribe to this podcast and leave a review. If you know someone who would love to hear all about this topic, make sure you share this episode on your socials and tag me at inspiredlife.byjessicaann. You can get in touch with me through my website www.inspiredlifecollective.com.au. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.